5 years ago, I was doing Chloe Ting and Alexis Ren ab workouts designed for a body that I didn't want, yet secretly wishing I could build a masculine physique I saw in all of these cis guys gym videos. The problem? I had this limiting belief that everything I tried either didn't work for AFAB bodies or I assumed required testosterone to see the results depicted on social media and in these programs. So I spent years of trial and tribulation, hours of research to figure out exactly how to build muscle, lose fat, build this quote-unquote masculine physique without HRT, testosterone, hormones, whatever you want to call it. Because at the time when I was doing this, I actually hadn't come to terms with the fact that I was trans and didn't even think about starting HRT at the time. So I couldn't help but think there had to be a way for me to build this body without HRT. And it worked so well that I've now helped over 1,000 people do the exact same thing. Now guys, this is not rocket science. Literally anybody can do this. Building muscle pre-T isn't as complicated as you think. A lot of it comes down to the limiting beliefs and misconceptions that we actually build as trans and queer individuals. The training and the technique are very similar to if you were on T. Now there are a few little tips and tricks that can help my pre-T folks out there, and that's what this video is for. But realize and understand there aren't as many differences as you think. So let's debunk all the myths and misconceptions I believed when I started so you don't have to go through the years of trial and error that I did. Today I am sharing the complete system. The 5 key areas you need to focus on as an AFAB individual to build a masculine physique. Of course, without the need for testosterone. Plus, most importantly, the psychological and mental strategies that you can use to actually sustain this long term and even once you start HRT, if you choose to do so. Because honestly, the longer you wait to start training the right way, the more time you waste spinning your wheels and going in circles with programs that aren't always necessarily designed for you and your goals. And all of it starts with the one part that 99% of people get completely wrong. And that's how frequently you should start working out. But hold on, before we dive in, I know you're still thinking one thing. Oh, Grayson, but if I just wait until I get on T, then I'll see results so much faster. So what's even the point? Because trust me, I've thought these same exact thoughts and my pre-T brain thought these same exact thing. And let me tell you, the best decision I ever made was letting go of that limiting belief, picking up some damn weights and getting my ass in the gym. It allowed me to build a body that I felt so comfortable in pre-T that I didn't even feel the rush to start T because fitness was that pivotal in my gender identity journey and my euphoria. So if you're feeling down, dysphoric, like you need an outlet for these emotions, this change, the gym can be that space for you. So keep watching this video and I'll teach you how. So when I first started working out, which was during COVID in 2020, I did what most people do. I went balls to the fucking wall on my fitness journey. If one thing about me, when I go in on something, I go in. So I was ready. 7 days a week, sometimes twice a day. Now this is not the motivational, inspirational fitness journey story you might think. After 3 weeks, I fucking crashed. I was so burnt out and I completely stopped and I thought fitness wasn't for me and I hated it. So take me as a prime example that getting frequency wrong leads to burnout, leads to injury, overtraining, and just that terrible feeling of feeling like fitness just isn't for you. Start with 3 to 4 days a week max. That's it, no more, and I'll tell you why. In the start of someone's fitness journey, it's all about sustainability. You need to get used to a few things. One, your body needs to get used to strength training. Your routine, if you're in work, if you have a family, if you're in school, you have other shit to do in your life. Throwing fitness into the mix 7 days a week is just gonna completely uproot your whole life and make this so much more of a grueling process when it doesn't have to be. So start off slow, test the waters. It's like dipping your toes in the water before jumping straight off the cliff. This is what leads to you feeling most comfortable and secure throughout the entirety of your fitness journey. And most importantly, it's gonna allow your fitness journey to last much longer. 99% of people that start their fitness journey in the new years stop it within that first month. And what I wanna do is I wanna teach you the strategy that's gonna slowly ease your way into your fitness journey, AKA wade your way into the water instead of jumping in head first. Because trust me, I jumped in head first thinking it was gonna get me results quicker, and it took me literal years to realize the method I'm teaching in this video today is by far going to save you more time and get you better results. Reframe the way you think about rest days. Rest days are not cheat days or aren't your lazy days. Rest days are when your body and your mind recovers. Your recovery is so important in your fitness journey, especially if you're pre-T and especially when you're starting out in the gym. You do not want to go foot on the gas right away. You need to be prioritizing your sleep. You need to be prioritizing your hydration, and you need to be prioritizing your active rest days as well. This doesn't mean mean you have to sit on the couch and eat potato chips on your rest days every single day. It means you can go on a walk, do some yoga, journaling, meditating. Utilize your rest days as a ritual for growth, recovery, and preventing burnout. What's interesting is your nervous system actually needs to adapt too when starting in the gym, not just your muscles. That's why beginners oftentimes get very exhausted with those easy workouts in the start. But trust me, this all passes once you get into a good flow of things. I promise you, these first 2 to 4 weeks, you're in the trenches. I'll be honest, this is the hardest damn part. Once the routine is flowing, it's gonna be a hell of a lot easier to keep this consistent. Consistency beats intensity every single time. Showing up for yourself 3 days a week for 3 months straight is going to be much more effective than showing up for yourself 7 days a week for 1 or 2 weeks. You gotta think about it for long-term gain versus that short-term satisfaction. Now, if you're sore as hell, especially when you're starting, 1, check in on your recovery, your sleep, your stress levels, your hydration, your nutrition, and 2, realize it's okay to take an extra rest day when you're sore. Listen to your body and listen to your mind. Don't feel guilty about not training every day. The Instagram fitness culture is bullshit for beginners and makes us think that training 7 days a week is going to get us good results, but in reality, it isn't. Another really big question I get from a lot of my clients and just people on my social medias is, hey Grayson, if I wasn't able to go to the gym yesterday for my pull day, should I do pull and push today and then catch myself back up? The answer is no. Never, ever, whether you skip your meal plan, whether you go off track in your diet, whether you skip a training day, never compensate the next day. What you want to do is you want to just get right back to the regularly scheduled program. If you skipped push yesterday, do push today, or skip push that week and do pull today. Whatever the case may be, do not put more onto your plate because that's going to create this cycle of that all or nothing mindset, and it's going to stack up your habits when in reality we want to build sustainable long-term ones. Now, frequency is important, but showing up consistently does not mean anything if you're not training the right muscle groups. Which brings me to our next segment of where we transform the way you not only look, but you feel in your own skin. We're going to talk about some strategic focus areas to build that more masculine physique. Now, before we dive into this, I will say what I consider a masculine physique could be the opposite of what the next person considers a masculine physique. I'm going for that stereotypical V-taper back, cap shoulders, that X-frame sort of look that a lot of my trans mask homies out there are looking to achieve. Remember the Chloe Ting ab workouts I told you I was doing? Yeah, those are designed for an hourglass figure. Definitely not the masculine body I wanted. I eventually realized doing this, I was literally working against my very own goals. And that's honestly because I knew I needed a very strategic approach based on my starting point as an AFAB individual, pre-T, and where I wanted to go. Shoulders are gonna be your best friend. One really cool thing about shoulders is they make you look bigger in shirts, tighter around the sleeves, and they really cap off that V-taper look. This muscle group really does change everything about your proportions. There are 3 delts on your shoulder. There's the front delt, the side delt, and the rear delt. All 3 are important for that big, bolder shoulder look a lot of us are going for. For your front delts, you could do something along the lines of a front raise or a shoulder press. For your side delts, you could do something like a cable lateral raise. And for your rear delts, you could do something along the lines of single arm rear delt fly or face pulls. You can train shoulders 2 to even 3 times per week because they respond really well to high frequency. And again, like I said, create the biggest visual impact. Upper chest and back development are also what's going to aid in creating that V-taper look. Training chest can also be a super euphoric thing pre-T and pre-top surgery as well because it gives you power over some of these most dysphoric parts. Not only aesthetically can you build a more masculine chest, but also just the act of pushing heavy weight on chest days. I know for trans masks, increasing your physical strength, not only just the aesthetics, can be such a euphoric feeling, so don't forget that. For upper chest, your incline movements are going to be your best friend. Incline push-ups if you don't have a gym, incline dumbbell or chest press also if you do have access to a gym. For that V-taper back, we're going to separate it into 2 different segments. We can do our lat focused and we can also do our upper back, which is our rhomboids, traps, and rear delts. For our lats, we can do things along the lines of a single arm lat pull down, lat pullovers, and single arm seated cable row. For our upper back, we can do things along the lines of a T-bar row or chest supported row, wide grip seated row, and again, those face pulls. And lastly, emphasizing your quads over your glutes in your leg days. Do not neglect your glutes and hamstrings because that's just going to cause you injury. What you do want to do is make the focal point of your leg days your quads. Things like hack squat, pendulum squat, leg extension, sissy squats. Those are my go-to right there. Building up these more masculine quads and legs is going to take the attention away from the parts of your legs that you don't necessarily want to draw attention to. And lastly, tightening up your core is going to be a very solid way for you to finalize and craft out that V-taper. How you're going to do this? My 2 staple core movements are going to be 1, the weighted cable crunch. Abs should be trained like every other muscle group. Adding weight, progressive overload for these as well. 2, we have the hanging leg raises as well. And then you can throw in some plank links in there as well for some overall core and functional strength. Core strength is important, but you can skip the Instagram and YouTube ab workouts. Take a page from my book and thank me later. You can even take progress pictures throughout your transformation so you can track how your physique is changing to see where you want to add tweaks or more emphasis to certain body parts. But honestly, knowing which muscles to target is only half the battle. The other half is actually understanding how to work those muscles to actually build them. And honestly, most people get this completely wrong. After a while on my own personal fitness journey, I noticed one of two things. I was either one, going too light and being so frustrated as to why nothing was changing, or two, going way too heavy, swinging around my weight with terrible form and just experiencing constant soreness and fatigue. At this point, I had absolutely no clue there was a science behind building muscle effectively. Rep ranges and intensity actually determine whether you're building muscle and seeing progress or simply just going through the motions. Getting this wrong means months of effort with zero results. And I don't want that for you because it happened to me and it sucks. It tanks your motivation and it makes you feel like you can't do it and you want to stop. And the first thing that comes to my mind when that happens is it's because I'm not on T. It's because I'm not like the cis guys I see at the gym. But in reality, it might just be because of your technique. So take a look at this. As a beginner, start between the 6 to 12 rep range. That's going to be your sweet spot, okay? If you can't do 6 reps, the weight is too heavy, you need to do an ego check and decrease the weight. Form and a consistent range of motion matters so much more than the number on the dumbbell you're using. If you can easily blast past 12 reps with ease, focus on your form, focus on slowing down your reps in the time under tension, and or increase the weight. At this point, you're in endurance territory, not muscle building. The concept of progressive overload or training until failure is going to be extremely important, but before you do this, it is so crucial to make sure that you have your form down pat. All these exercises should feel seamless, the form should be perfect, and you should be in a good flow of things before you start diving into training until failure and progressive overload. Progressive overload simply means increasing the repetitions or the weight that you lift each time you work out, trying to build up. Why we do this is we're actually breaking down the muscle fibers in our body so that they can then repair, and that's when muscle growth happens. There's really no need to overcomplicate this simple concept. Progressive overload can even mean doing 1/2 of a rep more than you did last week. The last 2 to 3 reps of your set should feel challenging but not impossible. There's a very fine line when it comes to training till failure. You want to keep the intensity high, but do not, and I mean that, do not compromise form for this. Form should always be the top of your priority, and then you're going to be focusing on that progressive overload and that training until failure. So do not compromise your form for intense training. Make sure you're tracking your workouts, whether it's an app, whether it's your notes app, whether it's a pen and paper you bring to the gym. Keeping this consistent progress is going to guarantee you know exactly where you need to be and what you need to be hitting every single session, instead of just guessing around, doing your bicep curls and being like, damn, how much did I get last week? I'll just train till failure. No, you are simply just leaving gains on the table if you do that. Track your shit. And some weeks you won't progress. Your body isn't a damn machine. Remember that. Take a look at your recovery, and deload weeks are always there if needed. A good rule of thumb I like to incorporate here is pick a weight that you can do crystal clear form with 8 to 10 reps. Start here, then build up or down based on how that feels. Focus on control and mind-muscle connection with these repetitions. For example, for a bicep curl, 2 to 3 seconds on the way down or the negative of the contraction, squeeze and explode on the way up, and do a little bit of a hold at the top there. When in doubt, always err on the side of too light rather than too heavy. Injury is not something we want to deal with when wanting to build muscle long term. Now, while knowing what to do is important, knowing what not to do is just as crucial. Because honestly, the wrong exercises, the wrong technique can work against your goals and backtrack the progress we just discussed. So here's what to avoid. Because honestly, the fact is following the wrong program actually made my dysphoria worse and feel like fitness was the enemy, not the friend. I was literally accidentally building the exact opposite of the body I wanted, my actual worst nightmare of a physique, and wondering why it made me feel terrible. The fitness industry was oversaturated with content and programs that were the opposite of my goals, and following the wrong advice wasted months of my time and effort, and took a massive toll on my mental health, might I add. And I'm not blaming these people, they're doing their own thing, helping their own people, but I just wasn't one of the people that they should have been helping. And again, that's not on them. So my best advice is make sure that you're following the advice that's meant for you. You can skip the hourglass ab workouts, the booty burn 30-day challenge, or whatever the hell they're calling it nowadays. You can skip the diet culture of cutting out carbs, toning up in 30 days. We want to build muscle. We want to build strength. We want to build confidence. Remember what you actually want. Skip the excessive cardio thinking it's going to lean you out and make these dysphoric areas disappear, and focus on positive building. Building muscle, building confidence, building strength, building habits. And remember, your journey is valid whether or not you even decide to start testosterone. You don't need fucking permission to want the body you want. Now, I want to take this last section to share some personal insights that I honestly fucking wish somebody told me when starting this journey. Because the physical part is only a fraction of the journey. The hardest part of my journey wasn't the workouts. It was honestly dealing with a lot of the emotions that came up as I started embarking on my fitness journey, building a body I wanted, realizing who I wanted to become. It can be a scary thing. And honestly, nobody prepared me for that. This journey brings up really, really complex emotions. Fitness is much more personal for trans and queer individuals, and a lot of fitness content you see honestly doesn't talk about that. Your mental health directly impacts your physical results. It is completely normal to feel overwhelmed, scared, anxious, and worried about this journey. For a lot of you, and myself as a closeted trans man, this was my first step in my transition, was fitness. And I can't lie, it can bring up a lot of feelings. Training alone, whether it's in a corner of the gym, in your bedroom at night when everyone else in your house is asleep, is totally fine if you're dysphoric and uncomfortable. The first 6 months of my fitness journey, I did completely at home, wearing a hoodie and sweatpants with a yoga mat on my bedroom floor, because that's the only place I felt like no one was watching and I wasn't being perceived, because at the time, that was my worst nightmare. And some days, the mirror will be your worst enemy. Remember to focus on how you feel, not always how you look. And when you're in a place of negativity towards your body, shifting from a place of negativity to neutrality can be much easier than shifting from negativity to positivity. So try that next time. It was a lifesaver for me. And if dysphoria hits mid-workout, it is completely fine to scrap it and try again the next day. Dysphoria can be debilitating. It can be a fucking bitch, and I totally understand that, especially if you're pre-T. Some days are gonna be harder than others. This process is not linear. You might take 2 steps forward and 3 steps back, and that is completely okay. For all my pre-T homies out there, just know there is a light at the end of the tunnel, whether you want to start T or whether you don't, or whether you just want to use fitness without the need for HRT and hormones. It's an absolute game changer. It changed my life, changed the trajectory of my transition, and it allowed me to feel so much more comfortable during this quote unquote waiting period of my transition. There was this pocket of years in my life where I felt like my life was put on pause. I couldn't start T, couldn't change my name, couldn't come out, couldn't get top surgery. Fitness was the only thing I had that I could actually channel these emotions, take charge of my transition, and it felt like I had charge over my life again. So if you're feeling stuck, you're feeling like you're waiting, and you're feeling like you're not living your life, fitness can be that thing to bring you back out and build your confidence regardless of what step you're on in your transition or journey. So I hope this video, these tips and tricks helped. And again, let me make it very clear that training pre-T is relatively the same as training when you're on T. So with that being said, the biggest takeaway from this video, if you had any at all, is honestly the mindset behind it. Once you get those limiting beliefs unraveled and really lay out all the cards on the table, it really is super simple. And these tips in the video, I hope can help you understand that. But there's still something I wish I had 5 years ago when I would look in the mirror and honestly cry at how much I hated my body. Knowing what to do and actually doing it consistently are two completely different things. Doing the workouts isn't the hard part. It's actually navigating all the mental stuff that comes up throughout this process. That's why I created Masculinity Made, my fully LGBTQ+ online fitness coaching program to help you not only through these workouts and starting your journey, but the mental stuff that comes up throughout the process of getting you to step into your most confident self. It's honestly the program I wish I had when I was 18 and scared. I made it my life's goal to build something that people could feel safe surrendering into this fitness journey and building a body that they feel good in. If you want a complete step-by-step roadmap with the nutrition, workouts, accountability, and mindset stuff, as well as community, check out the first link in the description for more. But if you want to check out my personal journey for some more inspiration in my story, then click on this video to see my complete transformation and hear the story of how I went from hiding myself in baggy clothes to being completely confident in my own skin.